It's been a while. This
I
is
know.
season 2, or we're going to just go ahead and call it
Yeah,
season 2?
we'll just call it season 2 because we did that in-person one, which was dope. And then we'll call this one season 2. Took a little hiatus, and then everything launched in our face, like boom, 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 boom. Apple gave us everything we wanted, and then now we're back.
Yeah. So maybe every 30 episodes we'll do it in person.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Maybe even sooner. We'll see how
maybe.
it flows. Yeah.
Get those
I'm
30
down for
out.
that.
So, man, there's been a lot, though, that has gone on in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Of course, the one you've been waiting for, iPad Mini, just dropped this week. You have it. What are your thoughts on it?
So I didn't have one before. Obviously, I had one for a little bit, the iPad Mini 6, but then sold it. And then, so I forgot the form factor and the size. It's a comfortable size, man. Very comfortable size.
How do the icon, when you make it large size, does that, because I always thought the icons were just too small in the Mini. They just look weird.
Yeah, so enlarging the icons, this is a bad representation because I literally only have 2 icons on my screen. But I did make them larger. I like to keep it simple. And it does help out a little bit. Obviously, there's still wasted space, and Apple could definitely fix that. But the larger icons here, you can see it on the dock a little bit better. The screen, it's a little bit bigger there.
That's better.
But I do like it. So that's how I have it. I have the larger icons on in dark mode. And, I mean, it's an iPad, right? It's nothing revolutionary, but it's just like up to spec, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of like the set your expectations situation. And for most people, they know where they're going to get themselves into. And yes, as the techies that we are, we can dream and hope for the iPad Mini Pro with the ProMotion and an M-series chip and slimmer bezels and blah, 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 blah. But for what it is in a silo, it's a great device. And how I'm going to be using it, fantastic.
How do you plan on using it? Because you have an iPad Pro, right? That's what you do all your main editing on. So what role does the iPad Mini play in your workful? Or are you just trying to shoehorn it in?
It's like a personal workflow mostly, right? So like right now, I have it with some of the notes that you just pulled up. I have the 9 to 5 Mac website up, but then it's literally now the family iPad. Throw it around, bring it in the car, put it in the wife's purse because it fits not a lot easier than even the 11-inch iPad Pro that she has, which I'm going to sell. And yeah, so I mean that's how it's just gonna be the personal iPad, the do it all, the like look up recipes in the kitchen, the give it to our daughter, if she needs to watch a little bit of Bluey or things like that. So it's not gonna be a workhorse. It's gonna be an iPad. Pretty much.
It's like the iPad as it was sort of initially conceived, more so than the iPad that you have made into this work machine, basically, right?
Yeah. And I'm going to take it with me. I'm going on a quick little 48-hour trip this weekend to Florida, and I'm going to bring only this iPad Mini. Well, obviously my iPhone, but no laptop. I'll be back Sunday night, so I'm not going to do any work stuff, but I'm going to bring that with me and just see what it's like on the plane, see if I miss a larger screen, because I like to watch stuff on my iPad, the large one, the M4 one. But I think this will be good enough for a 2-hour flight there and back, and just maybe miscellaneous use at night or something. Who knows?
For sure. Yeah. The iPad, the Pro, is a little unwieldy. It's
the big one, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty big, especially if you have the smart, what do they call it? The Magic Keyboard installed on it. It's a fairly big package. Now, obviously, with the slimmer iPad this time around, it's a little bit better, a little bit more compact, but still, it's a large device. It's not this thing where you're getting rid of your MacBook Air and you're really benefiting from the smaller size of the iPad Pro, because it's basically the same size.
No, for sure. And that's again, I don't even consider the iPad Pro as a tablet for me. It's my computer. I'm going to bring it with me if I'm getting work done. And even I thought about bringing it with me for this little trip, but it's too big for those little, Spirit Airline, Frontier Airline, the little tables. It's too big for that, which is kind of crazy to think about. So I figured the little iPad Mini with the folio case is good to go. But I think the better deal right now, if you don't really care about Apple Intelligence, is the old Mini is on sale everywhere right now, brand new, for $350.
That's a pretty good deal.
And it's the same exact form factor. Given 64 gigs of storage, which is annoying, but $350 nonetheless.
Do you notice a huge difference, from your memory, with the new chip? And is that a big change, or the way you use it doesn't really matter?
the way, I guess I haven't really pushed it to the limit at all yet, and I plan on doing that because I know that it can. You can throw LumaFusion on here. I could probably get a video done, especially with the A17 Pro.
Yeah.
You know, that's in the 15 or 15 Pro and Pro Max, so that's no slouch. So if you needed to get some work done, I'm sure it can. And it's cool that it supports Pencil Pro, but it doesn't support the Pencil 2.
That's weird, man.
Which I guess I should have expected it, but when I was like, oh, let me see if my old Pencil 2 attaches to it. And like it physically attaches via the magnets, but it does not get recognized.
Interesting.
So, but it does also support the USB-C one, so the USB-C Apple Pencil that's out there. So at least you have a cheaper alternative. You don't have to get the Pencil Pro, but it is a shame that if you did have a Pencil 2, let's say you had the iPad Mini 6 and you traded that in for the Mini 7, and you can't trade in your Pencil 2 to Apple, you're stuck with the Pencil 2 for no reason.
Yeah.
That's the one gripe.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But,
So
not surprising.
Not surprising at all.
Yeah. So one last question, like,
Hit me with it.
what do you, like, as someone who owns an iPhone 16 Pro Max, which is a pretty large device, do you feel like there's too much overlap between these two devices? Do you, like, if someone owns a larger iPhone like that, do you think that the Mini is kind of redundant, or do you think it's a completely different experience?
That is a great question, because when you do stack it on top of each other, obviously it's still bigger, but it's not that much bigger, right? Especially when you consider the bezel sizes and things like that. Like iPhone 16 Pro Max is a big phone now. So, but they still feel like different devices to me. It's hard for me to describe it, but like what I do on my iPhone, I'm not really doing on this iPad. Like I'm not answering people's iMessages on this iPad. I'm not like, again, I'm doing very casual things on the iPad. Like I'd prefer to watch my NBA games when I'm on the couch while somebody's watching a movie or something on the iPad Mini. Why? I think it's just because I like the larger size, and I guess the weight distribution, since it's a little bit bigger, it feels lighter even though it isn't.
Yeah, and
so
multitasking, like that's something.
Yeah.
And that's like, I always wonder, does Apple specifically not have true multitasking on the iPhone so as to not cannibalize the iPad experience? Or, I don't know. I don't know if there's enough. Like I think the iPhone 15 and 16 Pro Max is definitely capable of doing like a 2-up sort of side by side thing. I mean, Android devices have done that for years. I've always wondered, why doesn't Apple, like, obviously they have picture in picture, so that's I guess technically multitasking. Yeah. But like it feels like there's enough space there to where they could implement some sort of basic multitasking where you could have two apps running side by side. But
yeah. Because there are some occasions on my iPhone where I want to be able to multitask in some way, especially when it comes to files.
Oh, yeah.
Like being able to just pull up the Files app on one half of the screen, and then where I'm dragging and dropping it on the other screen. I wouldn't be using it a ton on my iPhone, but there are specific situations where it would be very convenient to be able to do that.
Yeah. Now you have to kind of do finger gymnastics in order to make that work. But,
yeah.
I guess it's not a huge deal, but it would be nice if we had like some true multitasking on the iPhone.
I mean, they're definitely capable enough. They've been capable enough to do it. And they've been large enough since, I would say, the XS Max, probably, the 10S Max. So,
yep.
It'd be cool to get something like that.
Yeah, it would be.
Back to the jailbreak days, maybe one day.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, so that's the iPad Mini. So, check out Fernando's videos. We'll have them linked down below in the description for you guys to check those out too. So let's move on to 18.1. What are the features that 18.1 is going to bring to the table? I know some of the initial Apple Intelligence features are launching with 18.1. Which is kind of confusing because 18.2 is really the not full gamut, but it's, a lot of the Apple Intelligence features are launching with that. So, yeah.
So from the Siri Apple Intelligence front, we have the new animation. So people are finally going to see the animation. It's going to feel different.
If you're running an iPhone 15 Pro
or newer.
It's just weird.
I feel so bad for my younger brother. He has a 15 Plus.
Still with the old
and I was like,
Siri.
who gets that phone? And I guess he's the one that gets that phone, but oh well.
Yeah.
But yeah, the new Siri will be there. And like you just mentioned, 18.2 is the real Apple Intelligence one, in my opinion. This is kind of like how would you describe it? Almost like a little mask to give you a little taste of what it's going to be like, especially with Siri, because Siri if you compare it to regular 18.0, it's not going to be that much smarter. Right? Context rules are still kind of missing. It can get you one step closer than the old Siri would in some situations, but it's just going to look different. It's going to look nicer in my opinion, but the function isn't going to change too much.
Yeah, it's like you have things like type to Siri. So if you double tap the home indicator, you can now easily type to Siri. Of course, like you said, the new animation. There's better language interpretation. So if you're like stumbling over what you say, Siri's better able to parse that data a little bit. Still a little mixed results on that, in my opinion. There's better context, so it supports contacts over multiple requests better. And there's also product knowledge, which is if you're like a novice iPhone user, you can ask
It's a great word.
specific questions about how to use your iPhone, and Siri will like outline each step by step for you. So those are some of the main enhancements that are coming to 18.1. There's also some voice enhancements to make Siri sound a little bit more natural, but that's pretty much the full gist of what to expect in 18.1 with regard to Siri.
Yeah, so you won't get any of the ChatGPT integration stuff quite yet. The contextual rules, it's sort of there, but like not really. 18.2, we'll talk about 18.2, but I'm very impressed with 18.2 so far.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But so that's what you're going to get in terms of Siri. And then when it comes to actual other Apple Intelligence features, writing tools, I think, is a big one, right?
Yeah.
Writing tools is going to be all over pretty much it's a native feature of the OS now.
Yeah, so that allows you to do things like to rewrite or provide rewrite suggestions. You can proofread stuff, so you can summarize text, and it will generate like a summary of that text. It's good, and it's like the initial steps, but 18.2 is a lot more powerful in that regard as regarded to ChatGPT integration. So none of that's there in 18.1, but some of the initial things with the writing tools for like proofreading and changing the I guess the voice of what you're trying to say.
Yeah, the tone.
Yeah, the tone of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can do like friendly, more professional, and it works well. Like I have an example of a video that I did where it literally turned something super simple like a title, and I wanted it to sound very professional, and it did change it and made it sound very professional, like it was supposed to. So I think the writing tools are going to be beneficial for some. I'm not using it too much. I don't know if you are, but it is cool how it's now across pretty much anywhere that you can put a writing cursor. You have access to the writing tools. So notes application, Freeform, in Safari, email, iMessage, you'll be able to just pull up Apple Intelligence and be able to use those writing tools, which I like.
Yeah. Another big feature with pivoting from writing tools into photos is cleanup. So that is another feature where you can highlight certain parts of a photo and erase like that area of the photo. And that works fairly well. I don't know if you try that out or what your opinion is on it, but I was fairly impressed with cleanup.
No, me too. As long as you're not getting rid of like the main subject of the photo, everything around it gets cleaned up pretty nicely. Even if it's full people or objects or trees, whatever the case is, it does work relatively well. Obviously you can play with it, you can push it as much as you want, and if you do get rid of the subject, it's going to try to fix what's behind the subject, but it looks a little weird. But for the most part, I do like the implementation. And there was one cool feature which I didn't notice up until recently, which was the ability to blur out faces. I thought that was cool. I didn't know that was a thing. So definitely try that out, which is going to be cool for like families that like to take pictures and post about it, but maybe they don't want their younger kids' faces to be shown yet. That's going to be a cool feature.
Yeah, for sure. That's I think if you swipe, I don't know, it was kind of hit or miss for me, at least when I tested it, but I found like if you just do like a swipe like that on their face, it instantly does the sensor. So it sort of pixelates the face of people. So that's pretty cool. Here's the big one, I think, with this initial version of Apple Intelligence in 18.1 are the notification summaries.
Yeah.
That's, to me, probably the most useful thing. Again, it can be hit or miss from time to time, especially like it can actually scare you. It can actually like say some crazy stuff. Like if you get the right combination of text and it summarizes it, it can say some stuff that's like, oh, like you're kind of startled. because it's like interpreting this and trying to combine it in a very succinct way, but sometimes it comes across as not exactly fully representing what was put in the text initially. So
no, for sure. Especially when it's trying to summarize like a huge group chat of like 20, 30, 50 messages in just like 1 or 2 lines. Of course, it's going to miss some things and it's going to be a little bit out there, especially when it's trying to summarize all that stuff. But I do like the notification summaries a lot, especially for those group chats and iMessage. But even for, I mean, it works for anything. It doesn't need to be a native Apple application. Like I get a bunch of like Realtor or Redfin or Zillow notifications, and it'll summarize that like 3 locations have these sales coming up and blah, blah, blah. So it works well. I definitely like the notification summaries. It makes it easy.
Yeah. The only thing with that is like, it's just, if you have the wrong, like, say you have a conversation and someone mentions like my fish died, but then they start talking about like your loved one, then it is like so-and-so died. It's like, oh, it didn't quite get that right. Like, it didn't quite get that right. So that's sort of an extreme example, but that kind of thing can happen because obviously it's not going to be perfect in parsing that data, but I would think it would learn over time to get to improve.
It's a great lesson in don't just read headlines, even if they're notification summaries. Go in there. I mean, read the headline, but then go in there and see exactly what's going on, so you get the full context of what's going on. You know,
exactly.
But definitely big thumbs up for notification summaries. And I mean, that segues into the Mail app, because there's also a summary section in the Mail app for 18.1. So whenever you get similar idea, so whenever you get any message, whether it is, you know, an actual written message or if there's photos and there's text inside of those photos, it'll summarize. There's a little summarize button on the top of every email, and it'll summarize all the text for you if you want to read it in a couple lines. And I feel like those are a little bit more specific, a little bit more robust, just because there's more space. I think there's like 3 or 4 lines that I can summarize it to, and it'll take up the entire page, at least on the iPad. On the iPad, it works great because there's a lot of room for actual text to summarize. Maybe if it's like a 3 or 4 page PDF, it'll summarize it for you right there, which is cool.
Yeah, that works really well in my experience too. Then there's like transcription summaries and notes. Yeah. So you get that. Here's another one, and that kind of goes along with that, is the iPhone recording, like phone recording. You can record phone calls, and those transcriptions of those recorded calls will be put in a special folder in your Notes app, which is interesting. But yeah, so now having native call recording built in, that used to be a huge jailbreak feature. Yeah. But now that's built in natively in iOS 18.1. And it will alert the parties on the line that the call has been recorded, by the way.
Have you ever recorded a call aside from demo purposes?
No,
right?
I would feel weird about that, man.
Yeah,
it's like,
I mean,
unless
even though there is a notice to the other side, it's still a little weird.
Yeah, unless it was like we're practicing for, like maybe we're giving a speech or something.
Yeah, or like running lines. You know?
Yeah, we need to like in that case, I could see like if we're working on an assignment together, and you needed to remember exactly what was said on the call, then I could see recording. Hey, let me just record this. It'll make it easier. But in general, I think it would be kind of weird.
But in that same light, I do think the voice memo transcription combined with the Apple Intelligence summarization, I think that's a great little feature that we now have. I mean, imagine going to, if you're a student in the lecture hall and, you just want to put your phone out there to transcribe it, or in a meeting, in a conference, and then just summarize it after so you don't have to sit through a whole hour lecture again. I think that's really cool.
That's a good example. Actually, that's the better example.
Yeah.
That's the better example.
The voice call, it's I guess cool. It's nice that it's there now because, like you said, it was a jailbreak feature that people seem to like. But I think the one that's going to be used more often is that one. In the conferences, if you're just sitting there listening, you go into events, and just summarizing that for after the fact. Very cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's the idea with all these, supposedly, just make your life a little bit easier, make everything a little bit more efficient, and build it all into the OS. You don't have to like jump around 18 different applications just to summarize an essay or do one quick little thing. Because I feel like some people's arguments are like, hey, this is just a repackaged something that's already out there, which is sure, I guess maybe, but the whole idea is for it to be packaged nicely into your entire ecosystem so it works across all your devices and you don't have to really think about it, and ideally it becomes second nature at the end of the day. So I think that's kind of what people got to take into account as well.
For sure. Yeah. And then I guess the last sort of big thing is if you have an iPhone 16 era device, then you have camera control, which you can quickly switch to the front-facing camera now as an option within camera control. That new button on the side of the iPhone, and then there's spatial photo capture for the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. So I don't know if that should even phrase it like that.
Yeah, I was like, is that true, or is that news? I haven't even read that yet.
There was a rumor about that the Apple Vision Pro was going to halt production because they had enough inventory to last, basically. For a while. So that really kind of speaks to the lack of, I guess, consumer interest. Yeah. But to be fair, Tim Cook recently said in an interview that this was not a mass market product anyway, which was obvious, right? From the price.
The price point alone, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
again, going back, I mean, you still have it, right?
I do, but I don't know for how much longer. But it's like the value of it dropping. But it's still, with that being said, man, it is still the best way that I've ever watched a movie in my house. Like, it's still better than a television.
Yeah.
Any TV that you can buy on the market now, it pales in comparison to that.
I agree.
Like pales.
The best way to consume content. Did
Easily.
you watch the new short movie that came out?
I did actually a little bit. I didn't get through the whole thing. That
seems so anxiety inducing for me.
It was very it made me anxious, and I said I can't take this, and I took it off. Yeah. It was just
I think that's the point from the immersion standpoint, but at the same time, I don't want to feel that way when I'm watching a movie.
I'm anxious enough, man. I don't need more anxiety. I don't need that in my life right now. But I did watch the NBA All-Star thing, which was amazing.
Oh man, I might just set up a demo to go watch that again.
I would. Yeah, it is incredible. But the problem is, it's outdated. And it's only February, 5 minutes or so.
Yeah. Oh really? It's short.
Maybe 7 minutes. I don't know. It was short, but it's that's it. But it was phenomenal. If you could have a live game like that, they would sell those things like hotcakes, man. I mean, it was phenomenal. You've really got a sense of how big an NBA player is, how tall they are.
Oh, that's so true.
And it just really gave you a sense of being there, and you could really just see that's a 7-footer right there.
So what was the POV like? Was it literally a highlight, you were watching a movie in the space, or was it more like VR where you're sitting courtside and you're looking around and you can kind of see different aspects of the court?
Yeah, it was one of those things where there's a lot of different camera angles and they kept switching. So, but there were some instances where you were right there courtside. Okay. So yeah, it was. I was impressed. But it's the thing is there must be a huge amount of post-processing that has to be involved with this. That's kind of my thinking, because otherwise, why would it take them
6 months?
6 months or so, or longer?
Yeah.
To produce something that's 5 to 7 minutes. How much post-processing time is involved in that? Are they having to stitch? Is it, because if you ever taken a spatial photo, I know it's a little bit different than video, but sometimes you'll have these weird, where maybe your jaw is, you can see where it doesn't quite connect to your neck. Oh, and there's there's you can tell, how video games sometimes they break. Yeah. You can kind of see through them and stuff like that. It's just kind of
empty space.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
It's glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah, if you look at it from a weird angle, it's ugh. So I could see that being kind of grotesque, especially with real people. If you have Kevin Durant, half his face is empty.
It's missing, or it goes from his face to just his shoulder or something. Yeah.
So I could see that being hey, if you're a player, you're not going to want to look like that. And there. So maybe there's a lot of meticulous post-processing where they have to make sure everything's stitched together just right. I don't know. I'm at a loss. Otherwise, why would it take that long to produce that?
It's got to be a lot. It's got to be a lot in terms of post editing, in terms of quality assurance to make sure everything looks how it's supposed to, and and then getting it out to everybody, because it's supposed to be like, you're supposed to be wowed, and clearly they wowed you. But again, like you said, does it take 6-7 months of post-production to get that done? Because I'm telling you, I'm not here for 6-7 month old highlights. You know, I'm trying to watch the game in real time.
Exactly.
Which was cool. Like the NBA League Pass app for Vision Pro, I remember, it was cool. But at that point, you have virtual displays, pretty much. I want to have that immersive experience.
Exactly.
And that's what's really going to separate everybody from or the Vision Pro, hopefully. But I mean, let's see where it ends up going.
Yeah. So
You know?
so you could take those spatial photos, which I've waxed poetic about those. Those are incredible.
Yeah.
And be able to natively take those, they look even better with the 16 era devices, 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max.
And then you made a video, which is still with 18.1 technically, right? The hearing aid piece.
Oh,
right?
yeah, man.
Yeah, so if you have I know it's crazy. If you have AirPods Pro Gen 2 Lightning or USB-C, it doesn't have to be the new USB-C ones, but I mean, tell the people what your experience was like with the hearing aid test and all that stuff.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, it's a really cool feature. So basically what it does is it allows you to use your AirPods Pro 2 as hearing aids. So there's really two parts to the puzzle here. The first one is a hearing test. So you put your AirPods in and you go to the AirPods settings, and then you can tap hearing test, and it goes through, it presents these little tones in your ears. You ever hear those real high pitch, high frequency tones?
Yeah.
That like maybe you can hear them, but like some older people with hearing loss can't hear.
Yeah.
So it kind of does that and just sees how much hearing loss you have, and then it grades how much hearing loss you have or don't have. Because when they present those tones, you're told to tap on the screen to identify that you heard them. So in my left ear, I did pretty well. My right ear, I think I had a little bit more hearing loss because I wasn't able to hear all the tones, but it still told me that my hearing was great.
Yeah.
So that made me feel better.
No, same.
I thought for sure it was going to be bad.
Mine was unbalanced. I think it was like, but the same thing. It was like little to no hearing loss for both ears. You know, so I think mine was the opposite. I think my right ear heard a little bit better than my left ear. Funny enough, but
yeah,
I think it's a cool feature. The fact that we're able to now bring that into because I've seen hearing aids. Hearing aids are very expensive. Like Costco sells hearing aids for like over $1,000. They're like $1,200, $1,500, $2,000, medical grade. Again, that's probably for people that have a wide range of hearing losses. Again, the AirPods Pro is only for low to moderate hearing loss, is what they're saying. Right. But it's still medical grade, it's still FDA approved, and I'm sure it's going to help a large chunk of the people dealing with this kind of stuff. Because at some point, eventually, right? Don't we all at one point start to lose our hearing once we get older, like you said?
Yeah.
So I think the fact that we can package that into $189, because that's what they sell them on Amazon for, $189 pair of headphones that aren't just hearing aids, they're great headphones, but that just happen to also be hearing aids, huge. That's a big one.
So that's kind of funny. It's like the reason I have hearing loss are because of AirPods.
Yeah.
So we're going to also
shoving them in there.
Yeah. That's the reason my hearing's bad right now. So
Yeah.
thank you, Apple, for fixing
Cause
the
a problem, but then solving it. You know?
No, I don't
Tale
know
is
if
all
that's
the time.
Yeah, I don't know if that's truly the case, but I feel like it can't be good for your hearing to have your headphones in blasting music like I do.
No.
So it's just funny.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wear my AirPods Pro pretty much all the time.
Yeah, so do I.
Especially during a work day, those things are in. Even if there's nothing playing in them, they're just in there.
Yeah, that's the thing. And just one more note. So the hearing test, and then you have the hearing aid portion, which you can turn on and you can adjust natively within the control center, which is really cool. So you can change up the amplification of the hearing aid, change up the balance of it. Even has things for media. So when you're watching media, it can boost the quality of the media files and stuff like that. So pretty cool new feature for sure. And it's crazy that this 2-year-old product is getting major upgrades like this deal. So
yeah, it's one of the few products that kind of breaks that stigma of buy it for what it is today. Because I mean, I bought this. Well, I guess these are the USB-C ones, but the Lightning ones I had for almost 2 years.
The Lightning ones I have.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you do.
I need to send back. They're sitting there, and I told you I was going to send them. I haven't done yet. So yeah. Anyway,
hopefully my nasty earwax, didn't contaminate you or anything.
No. And I started twitching recently, so I don't know if that's part of No, but seriously, this is a super cool feature and just makes the AirPods Pro 2 even that more great of a buy. They were already incredible, one of the best Apple products, and they're just even better now with this new update. So thank you, Apple.
Yeah. And then what do we got next? 18.2? We'll give you guys the tidbits because it is cool.
Yeah.
But again, this is the first beta.
Just give us the highlights.
I guess let's talk the ChatGPT finally gets integration, right? So ChatGPT and Apple Intelligence are playing nice with each other. And if Apple Intelligence can't give you the answer to something, they'll ask you if you want to go to ChatGPT for it.
Yep.
It happens a little more than I thought it would. I'm okay with that. I don't really mind it. But I guess the questions that I ask, maybe send it to ChatGPT a little bit more. And it's mostly for stuff that's more recent, right? More recent, less historical, and something that just needs to get found out on the internet, basically. So it's not on device.
I think it's great. I mean, it makes Siri so much more useful.
So much smarter.
And you can force ChatGPT by saying, you can mention ChatGPT in your request, and it will automatically go to ChatGPT to resolve that request. So, yeah, all you do is you go into settings, go into Apple Intelligence, and then you can go in there and log in to ChatGPT, or you don't have to even log in. You can, if you don't, it sends it all anonymously. There's no logins. It doesn't use your queries to train the models and OpenAI or anything like that. So you can just use it completely anonymously. And I was sending a lot of requests, and I didn't get turned down for like overuse, even with the free. So I don't know.
Was there? So I signed because I have a paid version, so I just signed into mine. So I didn't actually test if there was any limitations to not having your own.
I was not able to test it enough to really discern what the differences are, but I didn't notice any difference, especially with like the amount of queries that was able to send and the differences in the answers based on what, like if it's using a different model. It seems like it's using the same ChatGPT 4.0.
Yeah, 4.0, 4.0.
So I don't know. Like that's still something that I think will probably be addressed in future betas. Maybe there's some like you can choose your specific model within the interface for setting up ChatGPT. One thing I did notice though is that if you do log in, you can retain your history of your queries.
Yeah.
Within ChatGPT app. So that was interesting.
No, yeah, I definitely like the integration. And again, wherever Apple Intelligence can be summoned, ChatGPT can also be summoned. And it's also integrated into the new visual intelligence, which I'm liking a lot. but I'm liking it a lot for fun mostly right now, not really for actual stuff that I need. But if you do have an iPhone 16, any of them in the lineup, if you long press that camera control button, it'll pull up pretty much Google Lens, essentially, is what's happening.
Kind of.
Right? Yeah, and one will search Google. It literally searches Google for images of what you're taking a picture of, and then the other option is to ask ChatGPT to look at it and describe what it's seeing, and it works well.
So in that case, it will upload an image to OpenAI servers and then decipher what that image is and try to give you some feedback on that. And in that case, anytime it sends a file or image, it will basically prompt you if you want to do this, because you can actually disable the prompt that asks you if you want to send to ChatGPT. You can disable that in settings and just have everything instantly go to ChatGPT once it decides it needs to go that route. But anytime you're uploading a file, you will get an acknowledgement asking you to say, hey, do you allow this? Which is a good thing for security purposes.
No, I agree. Yeah. But it gets very granular with what it's seeing. Like I took a picture of my daughter playing with a toy. My dog was my dog's only like the back of his head was in the foreground of the picture, and it literally described it perfectly. It's like a little girl playing with a doll and like chewing on something because she was chewing on something, and then like Shiba Inu dog head in the foreground, and I was like, what? So again, that's probably more so, not probably, definitely is more so on the ChatGPT side and how intelligent it is on that side. But it is cool how now it just feels like it's built in, and I'm not going to the ChatGPT app because I really wasn't using ChatGPT that often, especially not on my phone. I never use it on my phone. But now visual intelligence allows me to do that if I want to, and it's built right into that button.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, that also has raised a little bit of controversy because, like, if you have an iPhone without that camera control, oh, there's our doggy.
There he is. He heard me talking about it.
He did. That's funny. So if you have an iPhone without the camera control button, then you don't have visual intelligence, right?
Technically. I heard there was a little workaround though.
Yeah.
Again,
So
you still need to have the 15 Pro and Pro Max.
yeah.
But you essentially take a picture of something, or you hold your camera to something, and then you invoke Siri, and then ask GPT through Siri what it's seeing on the screen, and then boom.
Yeah, so it's two ways to do this, so to speak. So the first way is to just ask Siri whatever's on your screen, just invoke Siri, and it will take a screenshot of that screen and send it to OpenAI for interpretation. Mm-hmm. The second way to do this is to have your camera app open, invoke Siri. It will take that photo, which I guess could technically still be a screenshot. It may still technically be a screenshot, but it actually says photo. So it's like it's sending that photo to OpenAI for interpretation. So technically, at least half of the visual intelligence thing is there, just a different way of invoking it. The only thing you don't get is the Google Lens sort of thing there, or the Google image search.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like, it seems like Apple could just make a shortcut that you could use with the action button for that.
They can absolutely do that, but Apple's gonna Apple. They gotta do their thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I enjoy. Oh yeah, and then also ChatGPT got integrated into writing tools.
Yeah, that's a
big
cool
one.
thing. Yeah, that's a big one.
So the UI still remains the same. So when you're on 18.1, we mentioned what you're going to get in terms of what you get with the writing tools, but there's going to be two additional options when you use writing tools with 18.2. Relax, big guy. You're shaking the whole desk. But the two options are basically prompting. So you can start from scratch. With writing tools, it's purely to edit what's already written. With this version of it, you'll be able to from scratch and have you'll have nothing on your notes app, and then invoke a prompt, and boom, it'll write out like a recipe for a chicken salad. That was like the demo that I did. And then there's something on the top. What does that say again on the top? There's like another option that it's kind of, let me pull it up.
Yeah, so there's one you can invoke. The other one is to like change the tone of the text, I believe.
There you go. Describe your change. That's what it is. Describe your change and then compose. Those are the two new options.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So literally now you essentially just have ChatGPT built into your native OS. So if you're already a ChatGPT user and you would like copy and paste things over there to their portal, you no longer have to do that. Which is something that I did, a decent amount sometimes, not too often, but it is cool that now it's fully built in there. And again, this is going to work anywhere that a cursor can be placed and anywhere that you can pull up the writing tools, not just in the Notes app.
Yeah, so that's that's basically the ChatGPT integration with 18.1. The next big phase, or 18.2, sorry. Yeah. The next big phase of this was the image generative images, basically. Yeah. So you have two aspects of that. Image playground, well, really three. Image playgrounds, Genmoji, and then the image wand.
Image wand, yeah. I kept calling it the magic wand in my videos.
So obviously the image playgrounds is that little, it's actually a standalone app, but it can be invoked from like messages as well. But basically it's like a recipe. You take different themes or accessories and you combine them into your recipe and it will come up with an image based on a person. So you can put your face there and then put a beanie, an image of a beanie there, and an image of a space image background, and it will come up with like this illustrative character or a sort of like a 3D
like an animated
like
character,
a
Pixar basically.
Yeah.
And I would consider these more for fun. These are definitely just like expressive things. They're I played with it a lot. It was cool to put my brother's picture, put myself, my wife, my daughter, and like send it to my family members. And if in that aspect, it's fun for sure. And like you said, the way that it works is you just put a bunch of different criteria in there there's some predetermined ones that makes it easy for you to kind of build whatever you're trying to build. And there's also a little section on the bottom where you can prompt it by writing something down. But you definitely just got to get in there and play with it to see what it's like. The animations are cool. The way that Apple the app icon logo is weird looking, in my opinion.
Very.
It's very un-Apple looking I don't know.
It does.
But the actual app is cool. But again, this is a purely for fun, maybe, I think, which we'll touch on the image one in a second, but the what's it called? Not the Genmoji. The image playgrounds is exactly what it sounds like. It's a playground for you to put together whatever you want to put together. And in my opinion, the animated ones work well.
I was impressed.
I was impressed with how they look.
Offended if mine looked so accurate. Like it had every detail, my good and bad treats.
Yeah. And they give you a bunch of options too.
Yeah,
they give you a ton of options. The more you swipe to the right, the more options it'll start to give you. And
it's infinite, pretty much isn't
infinite.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can do it with as many people as you want, whether they're in your camera roll or people that you get from the internet. So people have had some fun with those, which I've seen on Twitter in terms of, putting people in funny situations. But it seems to only work from the shoulders up. So you're not going to be doing any full body images of anybody. And if you try to put... I've tried to put a couple images with multiple people in it to convert, and it doesn't work. You need to choose images with just one person.
Yeah. And if you say something mean, like I put myself in there and then I put fat, and it was like, no, we're not doing that.
Really? I didn't even try. That's a good one to try.
Yeah, it was like, so it says unable to process this.
Okay.
Which is good.
Probably good. Probably a good thing. Yeah.
Probably a good thing. But I just thought it was fun. Like, I thought it was pretty fun. So
yeah. And then Genmojis is the same thing, but in an emoji form factor, for lack of a better term. And yeah, I mean, it's literally it, right? Except for no backgrounds, I guess.
And it like and it stores it as a sticker / emoji in your emoji picker, so you can quickly access that. And obviously, it works pretty much across the entire OS. Yeah. Right. So
another fun one.
Yeah. I wasn't as impressed with Genmoji though. Like.
No, me either. And it's also, I don't know because sometimes when I went to the Genmoji, it would create an emoji, but then sometimes, like you said, it would create a sticker, and I don't know what the criteria is to determine what's what. Because when it does make it an emoji, it's literally an emoji. It's a small little emoji that you put into a text line, versus a sticker is like a JPEG or whatever the file is. It's an actual image that you're sticking on.
Yeah, I still need to play around with it to get the full mechanics of it, but I just like I guess the design of them wasn't. I don't know. It didn't click with me as much, but it's probably I just need to test it. Again, this is beta, so like you can't really complain.
So far, it's actually the emojis one has worked best for me when you have when you already know what emojis exist and you just want to combine a couple, then it works really well, right? Like I did like a car driving through a city, and it took the city emoji and the car emoji and plastered it on there.
Gotcha.
And it was you knew exactly what was going on. But then I did one of me in a Dolphins jersey, and it had like me with it had an aqua shirt on, but then it had like a dolphin sticking up from behind me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, why it doesn't, when I say do something, it would like put stuff in the background. I'm like, that's not exactly what I was going for, but okay.
Yeah. So like you said, beta 1, growing pains.
Yeah. And then image 1 is basically sort of like image playgrounds, except you can invoke it from like a text field, so to speak, or within notes, as you're drawing an image, you can draw the image and then you circle it with the little image wand, and then it will use that as a part of the criteria to build your final generative image, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I did a whole video on purely image wand because I wanted to see what the limitations were. So when you're when you describe people, it's not going to work. Right, people they're not going to draw any people whatsoever, even if it's just yourself. So this is purely for like landscapes and images, and so that's one thing to take into consideration. Certain IPs for some reason don't work. Like if you like a Mickey Mouse doesn't really work, or a Dragon Ball Z character for some reason it's not pulling those up. And then, like you said, there's 2 versions of it. There's the one that purely takes. So if you have a bunch of handwritten notes and you just want to have an image of what you're taking notes of, maybe you're taking notes of like Greek mythology or something, and then you're describing the building of of whatever it is, right, of like Athens, then it'll take those notes and build that for you. And then you have the other one, which you mentioned, which is a sketch. So I drew a house, I drew like a sunset on the ocean, very, very bare bones. You circle it, and it's still going to ask you for at least one text prompt.
That's what I wasn't clear that was a requirement, and that kind of threw me off. That's why I wasn't like, why isn't this working? Like I just thought it wasn't working, but I needed to put it. I didn't realize I needed to put it in the text prompt as well, which to me kind of takes away from the so-called magic of it.
Yeah, I tried to be as vague as possible to try to make it so it would really take the sketch.
Exactly.
And then for one of them, it worked well. For my like sunset like scape, it was terrible. Like I drew birds, and I think it thought it was mountains, so I put mountains back there. So I guess it kind of just takes on, if you're very vague with the text prompt, it's going to really take your thing literally. And if you are a bad artist like I am, it'll probably end up being it'll look good, but it'll just be something different from what you wanted.
Yeah, so I drew a house, and then all I put in for the word was bricks, and it drew a brick house.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then somebody did ask a question in my video, which I'll answer now because I didn't do it in the video. They asked about like like how could I use this for work? Will it take like bar graphs, or like if you have a bunch of like variables written down and stuff like that, and you circle it, will it create a bar graph for you or something like that? And it doesn't. So like I put down like homes in New Jersey, and then I put like townhomes 47, single family homes 100. And I wrote a couple of little variables like that, and then I tried to circle that, and nothing came up. So,
yeah, that seemed like that would be more of a math notes feature in the future. Yeah, maybe as that gets built out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but that's Image Wand, and Image Wand is restricted to only the Notes app. It's not in Freeform. It's not in the screenshot palette or anything. It's only in the Notes app.
Good to know that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was pretty much all the image stuff. So we had, is that it? I think that was it. But there was one more feature that Apple teased at its iPhone event that's included in this beta, and that is the layered voice memos. So being able to have a voice memo, you can actually import a music track into that voice memo, and then you can add a layer to that voice memo and then sing over that track, and then separate those layers so that only your singing will be heard. So that's good if you're doing like reference tracks, like if you're a singer-songwriter and you want to do a reference track and send it to whoever, T-Pain in his case, then you could get that sent over without the background music, so they can kind of just hear. It worked okay. You could still kind of hear the music. It wasn't perfect in separating those like stems, I guess you could say. They're basically stems. It wasn't perfect in doing that. I could still hear some of the music, but it worked decently enough, and it probably would get better as the time goes on.
Yeah. Now, Voice Memos app is pretty underrated. We might have to do another walkthrough video on what you can do with it, because I think that's a super cool feature. And even if you have, maybe you're just like cooking or something, you're just walking around, you can just hum a tune that you have in your head, put it in there, and then just sing over it after, right? That's the idea, or no?
You could, yeah. I think, you can layer anything, any two audio tracks. So, yeah, I think that could work too.
That's nice. Well, that's 18.2. Oh, and then iOS got finally the new mail implementation, which iPadOS didn't get. But, I mean, tell the people a little bit about it. I'm very annoyed that iPad didn't get it.
So basically you have categories now within Mail. So they have some canned categories. So you have things like shopping, I believe, or transactions.
Okay.
You have the primary, which is just your primary mail, transactions, updates, and that includes things like news, subscriptions, social media stuff, and then promotions, so special offers, deals, etc. And it breaks those all up. You tap them, and you can switch between those various categories. And you can also like edit the categories and rearrange them manually if you want to. But it's cool.
I mean, I use the Gmail app as my default app, by the way.
Okay. Well, one thing you will appreciate about this is that you now have little icons to represent each mail message. So
nice. Okay.
that's something that Gmail's had for a long time. So that's nice.
And I mean, they've had that prioritized mail, and they call it like priority, or they call it inbox, like promotion and social, I think is what it is in Gmail. Yeah. So it's good that's coming natively, because I always try the mail app every year, and then I always just go back to Gmail. You know, that's kind of what it's been like. But that's everything with 18.2 that I can think of. And I recommend the moment you install it, run to your settings app and join the wait list. Oh, yeah. People are still with 18.2 are waiting for the wait list.
I don't know if Apple just like disabled like new members or new entries for Apple Intelligence for a while.
For me, it happened in 5 minutes.
Well, because we were in the first 10 minutes of installing it. So yeah, Yeah, it'll
let's
be
see.
interesting. Like I wanted to be a fly on the wall in OpenAI's NOC, Network Operations Center, and just see like what type of activity just the beta have on their servers. But I can only imagine adding millions and millions of iPhone users once 18.2 launches. It's going to be something to see. I think that's it, man. That's more than enough for us to. I'm going to just go and just sit in a corner and just think for a little bit and try to like let my brain process all this.
We'll see you next week.
See ya.